y'all do know, I have 2 wiener dogs in my house, and one's Paisley, one's Pebbles. They're complete opposites. Pebbles, we've had her, she's probably 14 years old. She's so gray in the face, she's skinny, she just sleeps all the time. We call her Grandma because she's really old. The other one, Paisley, she's probably like 3 or 4, so she's still kind of puppy syndrome. And if y'all haven't been to my house, right when you go in, you can't even look at my dog, Paisley, because if you look at her, she'll just squat and pee because she's like so terrified. And it's super annoying. Like, you don't even understand. You can't walk in the door and pet your dog when she's like so excited to see you. You gotta put your stuff down while she's yelping, telling you to pet her and everything. You gotta walk outside and pet her, and so her bladder can empty out, and then we can go on with the day. So every time she does that, like every single time, unless you go outside, and it's okay. And so, of course, you think, oh, it's another year, she's another year older, she's going to grow out of this, whatever. And so you come home one day, and I, greet my dog like anyone else would, and then she's like squatting and peeing everywhere, and I gotta go to the paper towels, and then she eats the paper towels, and it's not good. And I'm yelling at her, 'cause I'm like, Paisley, what are you doing? Like, you're 4 years old, come on, we've done this. And yet she still does it. And I don't want to forgive her, but, she's got a pretty adorable face. And that's kind of what God does. We always sin. We always turn away from Him. And if God were in our mindset, He would never forgive us. But since He is God and He's above everything, that He chooses to forgive us. Because of His amazing grace. So what we're going to talk about today is Saul and his transformation of being one of the worst people on earth to one of the best evangelists of Christ. So that's where we take off into Acts 9. Just give you a little history on Saul, because God changed his name, or he changed his name, I wasn't really sure. But anyways, before his transformation, his name is Saul. Saul was born in Tarsus, that is where modern-day Turkey is. He has Jewish parents, but he's a Roman citizen. He's wealthy. He was a leather worker by trade. Because his parents were Jewish, typically you will be raised up as a Pharisee, and a Pharisee is someone who strictly follows the law and knows the law, so he probably has read the New Testament 1,000 times, know every single commandment God's given, abides by those commandments. And Pharisees of this time were very strict in how they lived, and kind of was more about following the laws than actually loving God. And so he was a Pharisee, and he even says that many times in his writings in the New Testament that he persecuted Christians. Acts 22 says that he persecuted the followers of Christ, pounding some to death, arresting both men and women, and throwing them in prison. What we'll talk about today is him going to Damascus, and his plan was to go to Damascus, gather all the Christians, put them in chains, bring them back, and arrest them and throw them in prison. And another example of him this guy was seriously persecuted Christian. It's scary to think about, but he's a common day ISIS. He's killing Christians and whatnot. And so he was even so corrupt and just lost in his ways that Stephen was an evangelist of Christ, and the Pharisees stoned him, and he held the coats for the guys that stoned this follower or missionary. So it's like he's the one that held the coats of ISIS when they cut the heads off the Christians. Like, that's him. Okay, this was the guy below. Like, you would think God would have nothing to do with him. You would think God would send someone just to take him out. But God has a different plan. So, Acts 9. I'm probably just going to read the whole chapter and stop every now and then and talk about it. But 9:1. Meanwhile, Saul was breathing out the murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for the letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way to God, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed before him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? "Who you are, Lord?" Saul asked. This is kind of weird. He's like, "Who are you?" But then he calls him Lord. "I am Jesus, the one you are persecuting," he replied. "Now, get up and go into the city. You'll be told what you must do." There are men traveling with Saul stood there, speechless. They heard the sound, but did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground. When he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus. For 3 days he was blind and did not eat or drink anything. So picture you driving down Independence, you probably know, and you're at a stoplight, and then just instantly a bright light, and you hear God talking to you and saying, "Why are you living this way? Why are you persecuting me? Why are you killing Christians? You are a Pharisee. You're the one that's supposed to be closest to me because you know the Word. Why are you persecuting Christians?" And here Saul is going to put these people in chains, and God immediately changes his heart. He blinds him, and so they have to lead him to Damascus. In Damascus there was a disciple named Ananias. The Lord called him in a vision, Ananias. Sorry about that. "Yes, Lord," he answered. The Lord told him, "Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street." Straight Street? What kind of street is that? "And ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul. For he is praying. In a vision he has seen a man named Ananias come and place his hands on him and restore his sight." "Lord," Ananias said, "I have heard many reports about this man, all the harm he has done to the saints in Jerusalem. And he has come here with authority from chief priests to arrest all who came to your name." But the Lord said to Ananias, "Go, this man is my chosen instrument to carry out my name for the Gentiles, their kings, and before the people of Israel. I will show him how much he must suffer for my name." Then Ananias went to the house and entered it. Placing his hands on Saul, he said, "Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus, who appeared to you on the road as you were coming here, he has sent me that you may see again and be filled with the Holy Spirit." Immediately something like scales fell from Saul's eyes, and he could see again. He got up and was baptized, and taking some food, he regained strength. So guys, just understand that we kind of get in this mindset that this is the Bible, this is written, some 2,000 years ago, and it seems like God is stronger back then because he's performing these amazing miracles and transforming these people. And we'll probably get into small groups and address that question, but God can still do those amazing things today. And he can even take the worst person that's persecuting his people and turn him into the best apostle that we know today. But it's just so amazing that he was willing to humble this person that was persecuting him, made him blind for 3 days. I mean, he was blind for 3 days, and he had no idea, he probably thought that God was going to kill him. I mean, why wouldn't he expect that? But no, God transforms him and makes him to a person that he can use. And so that was, his transformation. And Paul takes this and runs. He never looks back. He never thinks, God, I've done some horrible things to you. I don't think this is a good idea. You made a mistake. These people aren't going to accept me because I persecuted them, and now I'm doing this. I'm going to look like a hypocrite. I'm going to do all these things. They're not going to listen to me. This isn't going to be a good idea. And God just says, "No, you are mine. I created you. You made some mistakes, but with me, we will have an amazing life, and I'll show you the truth." And I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm just going to list out some of the books of the Bible he wrote, and more than half of these he wrote in prison. The things we're reading, 2,000 years later, this person who killed these Christians, he wrote in prison. He wrote Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Philemon, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, and Titus. And just on those works alone, you just know if the guy wrote the majority of books in the Bible, or New Testament, we've got to be where always that. And we got to remember that for ourselves. If we, are living a certain way, don't think that there's no reason to change because God's not going to set me. That's not true at all. If he can take Paul and transform him into one of the best apostles in the world, he can take you and do the same thing. I'm going to turn to Acts 16, just to show one of his many miracles that God performed with Paul and how he used that miracle to further his kingdom. So 16, and y'all can turn to it if you want. It's not very long. 16, verse 25. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. And again, he's in prison, like always. And it's weird. He's singing in prison. Who does that? Like, I would be doing push-ups getting ripped, right? He's singing and singing hymns to God. And the other prisoners were listening to them. Suddenly there was a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once all the prison doors flew open, everyone's chains came loose. The jailer woke up, the person guarding, making sure the inmates were in there. Woke up and saw the prison doors open. He drew a sword and was about to kill himself because he thought the prisoners had escaped. If the prisoners did escape, he was going to die anyway, so he wanted to take his own life. The jailer woke up and when he saw the prison doors, he drew a sword and was about to kill himself because he thought the prisoners had escaped. But Paul shouted, "Don't harm yourself, we are all here." The jailer called the lights and rushed and fell in trembling before Paul and Silas. And of course, all these jailers, these people, they knew who Paul was. They knew how amazing missionary he was, and they were probably fearful. They were fearful of his God, and they heard stories of the miracles he performed. So once that jailer experienced that for himself, he went and dropped to his knees, and he knew that the God that Paul served was real. Jailer called the lights and rushed and fell trembling before Paul and Silas. He brought them out and asked, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" He goes on to convert himself and to convert his whole family to be followers of Christ. And again, God used Paul many ways over again, but just in one specific case, to change a man and change his family while he was in prison. And so again, this lesson wasn't about what you're doing is wrong and need to change. It's for the people that just kind of have that, thought of why there's no reason I'm a bad kid. I do this. I just haven't been a church guy all my life or girl, and it just seems like God doesn't want to do anything. He can't really do anything with me. And guys, that's not true at all. And hopefully we dive into more deeper stuff in small groups and talk about whatever. But that's kind of all I got.